It was a truly terrible fire. In the dead of the night, it ripped through the old timber hotel, and 15 young backpackers suffered terrifying deaths. It's now more than 2 years since the Childers fire. The man who deliberately lit it is serving 20 years in jail for arson and murder. But this is far from the end of the matter. The families of those who died are still waiting for the promised inquiry. They say the Palace Hostel was simply a fire trap. Why were the fire alarms switched off? Why were exits blocked? Why were their children trapped? Tonight, the chilling story of what really happened at the Palace Hostel. Two years ago, Childers was transformed from a sleepy one-pub town to a place of profound grief. A fatal fire ripped through the Palace Hostel where weary backpackers lay sleeping. 15 lives were lost, parents from 8 countries forever denied a homecoming for their children.
The Palace Hostel wasn't the only thing gutted on the 23rd of June 2000. And we live our lives on 2 levels. We have a facade that we keep up every day when people say, "How are you?" And you naturally say, "I'm good, fine." But underneath that, there's an abyss there. And, just a sense of loss and just the trauma that this has brought to everybody's lives.
Frank Slark lost 2 daughters that night, 22-year-old twins Kelly and Stacey. They came from a farming community south of Perth, but hungry for life, were backpacking around Australia.
They brought the joy to our life. That's disappeared. They've taken the joy from our life.
Childers was a regular stop-off for cash-strapped backpackers. Here they'd give up sightseeing for fruit picking to earn a few extra dollars to fund their travels. Keith O'Brien from Manchester stayed for 6 weeks and, like the other young adventurers who came through town, stayed at the Palace Hostel. This is Keith's first time back since he escaped the fire.
You can still see the flames leaping out of the windows, same sounds. You know, everything, it just feels like I was there that night, to be honest.
What sort of sounds are you hearing?
You can hear a lot of mayhem, people screaming, you know, windows smashing, wooden beams breaking, the corrugated roof coming down. You can just see it.
It was just after midnight when Robert Long started his deadly fire in the downstairs TV room. Upstairs, Keith O'Brien shared a room with a fellow British backpacker. Within 15 minutes of being lit, the fire engulfed the 100-year-old timber building.
We went out of the bedroom door and the smoke was that thick you couldn't see your hand touching your face. It was so hot. It was unbelievable how hot it was. You could feel your face, your feet, bare feet on the wooden floors. You could feel the fire coming up from underneath.
So fierce was the fire, they were forced back into the bedroom. Their only way out was through a small window, a window with bars.
I tried to get through the bars, struggled to get through the bars. Once I got my one arm and the head through, I was dragged out. I was literally manhandled out by 5 people on the other side. And we just went down onto the ground floor level and just looked.
To date, all attention has been focused on the trial and conviction of Robert Long. He was found guilty of setting fire to the Palace Hostel and the murders of Kelly and Stacey Slark. He's been sentenced to 20 years in jail, which he's currently appealing. For many people, Robert Long's conviction seemed to be the end of the matter. But the conditions that allowed 15 young people to be trapped in the Palace Hostel remained contentious. There were bars on windows, some exits were blocked, There was a fire alarm, but it had been turned off. The backpackers had no warning at all.
This is the room my daughters and most of the others were in. The whole 10 of these people perished.
Frank has this floor plan of the hostel to show where his daughters were the night of the fire. The highlighted names are those who died.
And their exit and entry was just the one door, so they could not get out of this door. They were coming into the face of the fire.
Right.
And this was a barred window, so there's no way they could get out there. The beds had to be blocking all these doors. There was a door here which was blocked by beds, so there was no access out here. You could just imagine the panic and the fear in being trapped, and that torments me. Yeah. Something terrible.
Frank's daughter, Kelly Slark, made it through the bedroom door but perished just outside it, in the full face of the fire. Her sister, along with 8 others, was found slumped below the barred window. As details were released during the investigation of the fire, what horrified you the most?
That the alarms were turned off. That was just devastating to us, that anyone could contemplate doing that. And then that there were bars on the windows and the overcrowding.
I didn't hear any fire alarms going off, no smoke alarms. We weren't warned that there was a fire. Maybe if there was, we were warned, we'd have had time to get out, everyone to get out.
Regardless of how that fire started, they should not have died. And I'm really angry about that.
Christian Atkinson and John Dobe ran the hostel for 18 months before the fire. They admitted to police the fire alarm had been switched off a month before the fire because they claim it was faulty. They couldn't recall which one of them switched it off. Was it illegal to have bars on windows, bunks across doors, fire alarms switched off?
That's correct, yes.
It was illegal?
Yes.
Commissioner Lee Johnson heads the Queensland Fire and Rescue Service. 18 months before the blaze, one of his team, a part-time fire officer, inspected the Palace Hostel. He raised concerns with the former managers of the hostel about overcrowding and bars on windows, but never passed those concerns on to the fire department. What would you expect that fire officer to do if that person had seen those things that raised those concerns?
He would be required to report it to a more qualified officer to take action.
So not alerting senior fire authorities, has he failed in his duties?
Well, I'm not sure whether you have specific information or whether I should comment any further on that.
Because that's exactly what happened at Childers.
I prefer not to comment any further on that.
Does a fire authority have to see flames before they consider it a concern? And if that wasn't sounding alarm bells, and they should have acted on that, what good is a fire authority if that's the case?
The families of those who died feel they have a lot to be angry about, let down by the authorities and the justice system. The way the law works, Long will serve as much time for the 2 murders as he would if convicted of 15. For those other families, it's hollow justice. How do they feel about no murder charges being laid in the names of their daughters and sons?
Dumbfounded and outraged, yeah. It's as if they didn't exist.
Frank Slark believes others apart from Robert Long have serious questions to answer. If his daughters had some warning, if there were no bars on windows and no bunks across doors, he believes they may have escaped the fire.
The managers, I think, have a big case to answer there. They're just a lack of duty of care, and they abrogated that duty of care as soon as they turned off those alarms and did not warn them that had happened. How many people would have got on the Titanic if they had a sign saying we've only got lifeboats for half of you?
It may even be the case that unlawful killing could apply in circumstances where the death is caused by the actions or inactions of a person, or caused by any way, either directly or indirectly.
Chris Neist is a leading Queensland lawyer whose expertise is criminal law.
If the case was proved of criminal negligence, then they'd face penalties of up to 2 years imprisonment, and of course unlawful killing carries a maximum of life imprisonment.
Despite concerns from many quarters that the building was unsafe, police claim the hostel management does not have a case to answer. Inspector Jeff Oliphant, who headed the investigation into the Palace Hostel fire, will recommend to the Queensland coroner that the managers should not be charged.
We've thoroughly investigated the matter, and at the present time we don't believe there's sufficient evidence.
So it's not that it's too hard, Jeff?
No.
Too costly?
No. As I've said to you, we've thoroughly investigated the matter, and the matters have been referred to the coroner.
What is your advice to the coroner in regards to laying charges?
At the current time, we don't believe there's sufficient evidence to charge those people in respect of any criminal charge.
Can you actually say that justice has been done in this situation?
That's a very difficult question to answer, because very often justice is a matter of individual definition. If you mean, can you say that the truth has come out, then I think clearly you'd have to answer that the whole truth has not come out.
Neither John Dobe nor Christian Atkinson has ever spoken publicly about the fire safety conditions in the hostel. Christian Atkinson has told us he has nothing to hide. He declined all requests for an interview. 15 people dead.
They know what they've done. They know they were wrong. And people say, oh, they've got to live with it. What about the 15 people's families and the people of Chills? What about all of them who have to cope with this, have to think about this every single day?
For Frank, who's become the spokesperson for families isolated by distance, the fight doesn't end here. A legal action against the hostel management, suing for breach of duty of care, is now being planned.
I want these things investigated, and that's what we're looking at. The possibility of further litigation if there's grounds for them there, and I think there is.
There's absolutely no doubt at all that whoever ran the hostel had a duty of care to all of the people that were there. The issue is whether or not they breached that duty of care. Now, if we're talking about a situation where fire alarms were turned off in a wooden building, I would have to say that there would be a very strong case to suggest that there was a breach of that duty of care.
The second anniversary of the Childers fire has just passed, but for the families of the 15 backpackers who died, there are still too many unanswered questions. They want a full investigation, everything done to ensure future travellers are kept safe.
They're precious. They're the richest things we have, really. They're the future. And by their very nature, backpackers are extrovert and adventurous people. They're young and full of life. They're bulletproof. And they're the shakers and movers of the future. And God, they need protecting.
Hello, I'm Nick McKenzie. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our Extra Minutes segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au and the 9Now app.